In this class, we will learn two normal forms available of context-free language, that is CNF and GNF. We will learn how to convert a given grammar, a context-free grammar, to its CNF form. And if you learn how to convert it into CNF, it is a standard form, so that's why we are converting it into CNF, and you can easily convert that to GNF as well. So let us begin. We have learned in our previous lecture that to convert a particular grammar to CNF, or the standard form available in case of this context-free grammar, we need to do three things priorly. What we have to do? We have to remove the useless symbols. We have learned how to identify which symbols or which terminals or which variables are designated as your useless symbol. Then we have learned that there will be no epsilon productions. No variable is going to produce any epsilon moves. We have to remove it, and how we have to remove it, we have also learned that one, right? And then another thing we have learned, that there will be no unit production. I think you all remember what a unit production is. If a particular variable is generating another variable, that kind of productions are known as unit production. If any variable is generating a particular terminal, then it is not a unit production at all. Fine. So again, we have learned all this, that Chomsky normal form can have this kind of productions are allowed here. So whatever the production rules are given in the grammar, we have to convert into this form. That is, one variable can derive two variables, that is A is deriving BC here, or a variable can derive a single terminal. Other than these two type of productions, no other productions are allowed in case of Chomsky normal form. Fine. Now to put a grammar in CNF, we start with one that satisfies the restrictions, that is, the grammar has no epsilon production, unit production, useless symbol. We have already recapitulated all these things, and every production of such a grammar is either of the form A derives small a, which is already in a form followed by CNF, or it has a body of length 2 or more, means the whatever the form we have described in the previous slide, these two are allowed form here. Now let us directly move to the topic. If we are given with one CFG or context-free grammar, how can we convert that to CNF? First, what we are going to do, okay, we are ready with these three features, that it should not have epsilon production, it should not have unit production, or it should not have any useless symbol. But here we will learn step-by-step procedure. There are many more things to do other than these three. Fine. So what are the steps we have to follow? Eliminate start symbol from RHS. If start symbol is at the RHS of any production in the grammar, create a new production as S0 derives S, where S0 is the new start symbol. So whenever we will move to the example directly, it will be clearer to you. If you find any of the derivation is of the form, say we are having one variable named S, another variable named A. Now here S is considered as a start symbol. If any kind of production is there where A can derive capital S along with any other variables or terminals, it may be, if capital S being the start symbol appears at the right hand side of any of the production, we have to eliminate that. And to eliminate it, what we have to do, we have to introduce one new start symbol which can derive the original start symbol. What is the need of it, we will see in our later examples. Right. Step 2, eliminate null, unit and useless productions. If CFG contains null, unit or useless production rules, eliminate them. Right. So we know the procedure of elimination of these three, so we will follow. What step 3 is saying, eliminate terminals from RHS if they exist with other terminals or non-terminals. That is, if the production is like this, capital X is deriving small x and capital Y. Here small x is the terminal and capital Y is a variable. So we know that the accepted form is one variable can derive two variables, or one variable can derive a single terminal. So we have to convert it. See here, what it's very easy to understand. What we have done, we have replaced this small x with one variable, and we have incorporated one more production rule, which is saying that whatever the new variable we have introduced there, that variable can derive the terminal which was there at its place, right? So here x was at the place of z from the beforehand, and we have placed z at that place, and so it's very obvious that z can derive small x, otherwise the language generation will change. So that should not be the way out, right? So here so if you see that this x is deriving zy and z is deriving x, so it is following all the rules which a CNF should follow, right? So it is done. Fine. Now next, eliminate RHS with more than 2 non-terminals. That is the production. Say we are having a production of all variables, that is x is deriving xyz. So xyz all are in capital letters, so all of these are variables. But this is not an acceptable form. So what we can do, we can incorporate new variable in place of any two, and that variable can derive this too, right? So see, in place of xy we have introduced p, and p can derive xy. So the thing is done. So in this fashion, or in this following these steps, we are going to convert any grammar given CFG. Okay, so let us consider an example first. Here this grammar is given. We are naming the grammar as G1. You can name it anything of your choice. So S is deriving A S B, A is deriving small a, capital A S, small a, and all the things are given. So let us follow stepwise, and you can see that S being the start symbol, as the step 1 says, if any start symbol is there in the RHS of any production, we are going to remove it, right? So you can see that S is present in RHS of the first production rule. S is again present in RHS of second and third as well. So we have to remove S from everywhere. So this is our first step. See, we have introduced a new start symbol named S0. So S0 being the start symbol, now S is not the start symbol anymore, so it can present in the RHS of any production. Okay, now you will be astonished to see this one. Okay, so unnecessarily we are incorporating one more unit production, right? So why we are doing this? But for the sake of simplicity, we will start with this one. Later on you will see that we will also remove this unit production as well, and we will come up with a form which is a standard CNF. But to begin with, that since start symbol cannot exist in the right hand side of any production rule, we have to do it. Fine, to begin, just to begin. Fine. Now our job is to remove the epsilon production. Okay, we will begin with, if you remember the original grammar, you can see that A can derive epsilon. So if you remember the rule of removing this epsilon production, how we approached here, capital A is deriving epsilon. That's why wherever the capital A is existing, in case of first, let us say begin with capital A, we will write all the productions having capital A and without capital A, right? So if you have forgotten, just follow the previous lecture. I think the concept will be more clearer. Fine. So if you see this one, this capital A previously used to derive small a, capital S, small a, and epsilon, right? So since we are removing epsilon from here, so what we have to do, see the production where capital A is present. I am considering for A, capital A only. So it can derive small a, capital S. So we have to write all the three at a time. Then we will remove the capital A part and we will done. Right, so if you see the second one, that capital A is deriving small a followed by capital S. So we have removed the capital A part, and the other production remains as it is. It is capital A can derive small a. Now just see this one. This B can derive capital S, small b, capital S. It is okay, no issue with this one. But if you have this capital A, B can derive capital A. So here unnecessarily one epsilon production is already there. So we are desperately writing this epsilon here, means we are introducing one epsilon transition to B, because there is a chance, because previously A had this epsilon transition. So we are writing this epsilon transition along with B, so that later on we can remove this transition from B. So let us follow in the next slide. I think the concept will be clearer. If you see this one, so after removing this, so it is newly creating one new null production, that is B is deriving epsilon. So again we have to remove this epsilon transition from B. So how we will do it, just see. So here in both the transition, that is capital S is deriving capital A, capital S B and S B. Here in case of capital A S B, one case chance of epsilon transition is remaining, and in another case in capital B deriving capital A, another chance is there. So considering the first one, that is capital S derives capital A S B, so we have to replace it with, once it is containing the whole thing, see here, since B is producing the epsilon 1, so here what we will do, firstly we will write the whole thing, that is S can derive capital A, capital S, capital B, and after that we will remove B and we'll keep capital A, capital S. You can follow this one. Okay, we have written the first one without B and have written the second one with B. The thing is same, right? So this thing happens, and for the next one again capital S is deriving SB, the same is the thing is same, that is again B is having epsilon transition. So once we will write it along with B, another thing we will remove B and we will write it. So the thing is clear with S. Now in case of B, we will do the same thing, right? So here we were just going to remove epsilon from it, because no more transitions are there with containing capital B here in case of capital B. So in this case we have we are done with this thing. There are no more epsilon transition remains, right? So only we have removed the epsilon transition and done with the B's production. Now we have to focus on what the unit production present here. First one is capital B can derive capital A, right? So what can we do? We can replace whatever the A is producing in place of capital A. So if you can see the previous slide, that B derived A. So what are the various possibilities that A can derive? A can derive small a, capital S, or small a, capital S, or small a. So if you see this, that B is going to hold its original production, that is capital S, small b, capital S, and small b, small b. After that it will, in place of capital A, it will use all the choices we are having with A, that is A S and small a, right? So we are replacing that. Okay, now we are having one more unit production, that is S naught deriving capital S. So I am not again explaining this one, it is very easy to understand. In place of this capital S, we will write whatever the production rules capital S is having, we are just replacing it. Now again see, we are having other unit productions as well. If you see the first one, S naught is deriving capital S, and again S is deriving capital S. So we have to remove these two. So what can we do? So in case of capital S, what can we write? We can write, already see it is having all the forms available. So if we again write all the forms, means in place of S, if we again write AS, ASB, SB, means we have already written all these things with S naught. S naught can derive all these things, already we have incorporated all these three. So we are not writing it again. So writing it twice or writing it single times means the same. So we have just removed capital S from both the productions, right? Now we are moving to step 3. What step 3 is saying, you can see in the production rule, capital A derives small a, capital S. It is having and small a, capital S, and all that whatever the production rules are written there, it is not following the the property that a CNF should follow, because if you see capital A is deriving small a, capital S, it is not a standard form of CNF, so we have to convert accordingly, right? So if you follow this one, the previous slide, so in case of say small a, capital S, they have incorporated here one capital X in place of small a followed by capital A, and just small a has been replaced by capital X in both the cases, and here we have incorporated one y, capital Y, in place of B in case of the B production rule. Capital B is deriving, in the previous slide capital B was deriving capital S followed by small b followed by capital S, and here in place of small b we have written capital Y. So if we have written these two, we have to incorporate two more production rules, that is capital X is deriving small a and capital Y is deriving small b. Fine, we are not done yet, right? So now what we have to see that also capital B deriving small b cannot be a part, so again we are removing it. Just see, we are just tackling with one at a time, right? We are not doing all the time. Still it is not in CNF, but we will keep on changing and it will come to CNF. Fine. So in case of small b, we have incorporated capital V. You can see now capital B is deriving V followed by V, so V can derive small b. Now we have to see what are the more more changes required. So here this production rules, this was at step 4. So if a variable is deriving more than two variables, what we have to do? See here, S naught is deriving capital A, capital S, capital B, so this should not be the scenario. So in place of any two variables, we have to bring one new variable and we have to add it after that. So what we have done, we have replaced this S naught AS, the second AS with new variable named B. See, S naught is deriving B, P and followed by B. So P should be introduced now. So if you see the last one, P is deriving AS. So this has been removed. Okay. Next, what more changes are required? So it is yielding this grammar. So again we have incorporated one new symbol Q. You can see in case of capital S it is deriving QB. So for the sake of simplicity, you can do one more thing, you can also write P there instead of Q. Okay, so P is already deriving AS, so in case of S deriving QB, you can write PB as well, no problem with that. Okay, or you may follow the procedure mentioned here, whatever you feel, right? Okay, now another one is there, A is deriving XAS, so we have to again bring a new one here. We have to write R in place of this XA. So if you follow in capital A is deriving RS now. Again, if you want to do the change at the same time, you can do it in place of capital B is deriving XAS. There also you can write R, or you may incorporate new variable again. So here in the next slide, in place of this one, that B is deriving SYS, so in place of SY we have written T, so T should derive SY. Again, one more thing remains, that is this one, that T is deriving SY. Okay, this is done, and here again we are changing this one, U is deriving XA. So you can see here there are two necessary use of PQ, and again this one R and U. So this is also correct, I am not saying that this is wrong approach, but again you can use P in both the places instead of incorporating Q, or you can use R in both the places instead of incorporating U. Okay, so This is the required form of CNF. If you see, it is following all the rules and what are the acceptable features of CNF is, it is following everything properly. Fine. So let us move to the next topic, what a Grivach normal form is. So if you see that every non-empty language without epsilon is LG for some grammar G, each of whose production is of the form this one, A followed by small a alpha, where A is the terminal, alpha is a set of 0 or more variables. Remember, alpha should not contain any terminal symbols. So if you follow the CNF, if what was it, it can consist of one variable can derive two variables, or one variable can derive a terminal. But in case of Grivach normal form, more relaxation has been given. One variable can derive a terminal and any number of variables after that. So if you are given with any grammar, any CFG, it is very easy to convert to Grivach normal form once you can convert it to CNF, right? Means following the CNF, you can follow it to Grivach normal form. So you know how to convert a grammar to CNF, so it will be easy task for you, right? Now, however, because there can be cycles where we never reach a terminal, it is necessary to short circuit the process, creating a production that introduces the terminal as the first symbol of the body and has variables following it to generate all the sequence of variables that might have been generated on the way to generating of that terminal, right? So what we have to do here, since it may follow n number of variables after this introduction of the first terminal, so we have to short circuit it. Short circuit it means we have to bring a terminal thing, means we cannot incorporate as many variables as we need, because it will then keep on following it will keep on generating. So we have to keep such a terminal, or sorry, such a variable there that should have one terminal symbol that can generate any terminal symbol, otherwise it will never come to any end, right? And this Grivach form was given by the Sheila Grivach, means it has been discovered by this person. Fine, so you can follow the pattern and can do it of your own. Since each user production introduces exactly one terminal into a sentinel form, a string of length n has a derivation of exactly n steps. Right, so it's very easy to understand. See, if any variable is present, so that should have one terminal only, right? Since it is the form, accepted form is a variable can derive one terminal followed by any number of terminals. So every variable can derive a terminal only, right? So if n length string has to derived, if we follow this Grivach normal form pattern, we have to do means we have to do the productions or apply the productions in n number of steps, because n number of variables we have to generate. It also, if we apply the PDA construction to a Grivach normal form grammar, then we get a PDA with no epsilon rules, obviously, because we have to begin with CNF, so it should not have any epsilon rules, thus showing that it is always possible to eliminate such transitions of a PDA, right? So this is another standard form, so we can guarantee that this PDA is without any epsilon transition. If you can construct any CNF or GNF, both the thing can conclude this, that PDA is not having any epsilon transition. Okay, this much for today, and in the next class we will learn one very important topic, this pumping lemma for CFL. Previously we have learned how pumping lemma is helpful in concluding that a regular language is not regular, but in case of the CFL we will see what the application of a pumping lemma is. Thank you.